Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's your Impact Attack. That's right, you there sitting at home. Acknowledge your Impact Attack. So, the Impact Attack is brought to you, as always, by the VBC. And who is the VBC? The VBC is V for the vet. Hi, I'm the vet. The B is for my tag team partner. I'm tagging through the screen right now. Reach out and make that tag. We'll talk about tags more later today. Brandon. Brandon is here. And Brandon, who is that C that we're always talking about?
That C stands for the chat. And see who we got chatting with us tonight. We got Media M5. We got Lab Rat, although he dipped out a little bit earlier. So shout out to you, man. Glad to have you here in spirit. Lizbeth and Javi Uchida. What is up, guys?
Yeah,
Lab Rat.
What's up with Lab Rat? Is he here or not?
He's here.
He's here. All right. All right. He was testing not being here. They were testing not being here on Lab Rat, but they're done with that now. They found out it's not a good idea. They went with here instead. So we're gonna go with here.
I would call that
we're
positive.
here. Yeah, we're here. We're here to talk about some TNA, a little bit of TNA wrestling. Nothing happened this weekend. Nothing significant. There were no big events or anything like that. Wasn't nothing going on. No scripted events. No pseudo sports entertainment extravaganzas. No advertising dollars probably spent. Nothing I can think of. Hey Brandon, is it like what is for what you do for your work? Is Super Bowl like, is it like the Christmas? Is this like the biggest day or one of the, it's got to be one of the biggest days of the year, but is there a bigger day? What's the biggest days?
Actually, from what I understand from what they've told us, is the biggest day is actually 2 days from now, Valentine's Day.
Oh, really? Interesting. Has that always been the case, or is it something that's a little more recent?
I think that's always been the case because I've always heard the 3 biggest days of the year are always the Super Bowl, Valentine's Day, and Halloween.
Mm, yes. So, well, with that being said, I was thinking about this earlier because um, I was thinking like we could offer an interesting service here where you, on your part, you can give the people like some tips about what to do, what not to do on big days, like the Super Bowl, or otherwise those big days, like, because you've probably seen it all. So like what are these people are just careless. They're just like, I'm not going nowhere, serve me, monkey, and that can lead to all kind of interesting and unfortunate situations and stuff. So like, what are some tips that you would give the general public, as to be the customer, receiving these bounties or whatever? You know what I mean? What would you say? What would you say?
Biggest one would be, of course, be very understanding and courteous of the staff. Know that they are under an immense amount of pressure at the moment. They know what they're dealing with. They know they have a lot of orders coming in. Now, in my experience, every place I've worked at, we've always seen it coming. We're always overly staffed, over prepared. We prepare, like, we even like get people ready, like, okay, you guys know this is coming, and
Mm-hmm.
like, for example, like the last one we just had, we blew through it, and it felt simple because we were ready for it. We had people in their places, best people in the best spots. We knew what we were doing. We worked like a well-oiled machine. We got it done.
Mm-hmm.
However, I understand that not every place has that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
So again, biggest thing, be courteous to the staff, treat them well, know that they're doing the best they can under the hardest of circumstances. Treat them well. And for the delivery drivers, please, please, please make sure that if you're in an area where it's snowing, Make sure it's, your driveways and your walkways are clear. I have personally slipped and fell. It sucked.
Mm, mm. Yeah, around this time of the year, uh, the inclement weather and everything certainly be a problem in a lot of places.
Yep. And also, of course, make sure you tip your drivers. They're working really hard. They also do stuff in the store to help out, and they're basically running around just as much as the in-store staff and as hard as anybody else. So make sure you treat them well as well.
Well, there you have it. There are your tips for the big party days when you just gotta call on other people to take care of your stuff for you. Um, so that being said, it looks like you had a decent enough day because you're here, you're alive, uh, and there we go. So you probably didn't get to experience much of the big game, but it definitely played out just like a, uh, let's say, like a Hollywood movie, you know. Uh,
I got home about halftime. I didn't
mhm,
watch the game, but I was watching the score. I'm like, yeah, this is like a movie script. Like, okay, they're like neck and neck. Like, come on, this is like a somebody wrote this.
mhm. Oh, you couldn't have written it any better. That's for sure. Um, but they end up, you know, the the Kansas City Chiefs did end up saving the princess in the end. So, hey, Travis and Taylor are going to Disneyland.
Dude, I am beating myself up so bad for not betting on Kansas City on every single game in that. Like we should have known that was going to happen. We should have known that was going to be the outcome.
Yeah, I tried to tell you guys. I'm sure I said on one of my shows. If not, um, I definitely told people in real life situations, take all your money, put it on the Chiefs, because
You
there's no
called it.
way that they're gonna let that they're gonna let all these new little girl fans that were just christened this year. They're not gonna break their hearts year one and make them cry and everything. And for a second there, I was wondering. I was like, well, what if, like, perhaps if you dangle it in front of them and take it away, maybe they'll get pumped for another year. But then again, I was like, nah, you got to give it to them once. You got to give them that taste, right? So, you know, that's exactly what happened.
I think Stevie Ray called it too, and he said like if something happened to go wrong, they're going to have a backup plan to get her there somehow.
Oh yeah, come. But no, this was always the plan. It didn't look like the 49ers were playing along, but eventually they did the job, like always. That's what the good workers do. They make it seem like it's real. They make you believe. That's the best. Liz says she was on screen 54 seconds in a 4-hour broadcast, for fluff's sake. Yeah, but that was like 54 1 second times. So if you put it in those terms, it's a lot of times. There was anytime anything happened, they cut to like a reaction of her. So yep.
Dude,
Todd Brantley says the Chiefs are the heels. Got to keep them strong. Unless the strong enough baby face is built up enough to. No, they're not. They're not the heels of this story, pal. They're only heels to you and some other people.
I really think the NFL is trying to build up Mahomes and Kelsey as like the new Tom Brady and what's his nuts? Why did I forget his name? Uh, uh, the other he was the 24/7 champion for a little bit. He was signed for WWE until Brady went to the Buccaneers and went with him.
Rob Gronkowski.
Gronkowski, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Got a nice you got the best of both worlds. You got your like you got your, like I said, the princess, you know, that's captured the hearts of millions and millions of young fans and get to eyeballs on the game that they wouldn't otherwise really care about. Um, you know, you got your non-threatening, mildly ethnic quarterback. You know, that's you know what I mean. Like it's just a good poster boy for the league. You know, um, it's you got Andy Reid, a respected coach. You know, he's got the perfect look. Like he's an old fat guy with a mustache. Like you know, it's that's you think of that. You think of that. You think of football when you see a guy like Andy Reid. You wouldn't even know, even if he didn't know what he did for a living. You know, you see a guy that looks like that with a hat and glasses, and you're like, football coach of some kind, I believe. So yeah, yep. So, but yeah, that happened, and then you know, let's see what else has happened. Some things have happened. Perhaps a WrestleMania kickoff press conference 2 months early. You know, a lot more scripted entertainment on that one. A lot of head scratching stuff. I don't know. Did you get to chance to catch any of that, Brandon, or any of the highlights, perhaps?
I only catch the Cody Rock Roman Triple H stuff.
Little gentle slap. Don't disrespect my family. Um, yeah, I talked a little bit about that on the well, actually, Jimmy T and I talked about that for like 40 minutes or whatever on the wreckage, the wreckage. Uh, you know, so if you want to hear more about that from me, at least, you could check that episode out. But yeah, I mean, you know, this just the ongoing drama of what's going to happen with the main event here. You got a nice young man that's been working hard to get there, and you got a nice old man that came in to steal it and mess things up like he always does. And you know, um, now you got a pickle. So yeah, what do you think? Do you have any? Does this change any of your ideas for what might have to go on at WrestleMania 40 in the main event?
That's because it's obvious it's Cody Roman. We know that much. That's set in stone.
Unless,
Unless
I mean, it was
they
set in
made,
stone until
yeah,
The Rock
right,
walked in.
right. Because it looks like it's after SmackDown, they're clearly playing up a Triple H Rock power struggle angle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So again, we still have what, month and a half till WrestleMania, maybe 2 months.
Yeah.
That's plenty of time for Rock to pull power play with, like, if they want to keep going leaning into the real. How hard would it be for Rock to pull a power play with, Nick Khan or Emmanuel or Ari Emanuel to override Triple H's decision?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how far they would take that. Like how far into reality would that they would take that? Because even if they have like the whole thing, like okay, let's do this, and then they try to make it look like it's a executive override or something like that. But then how much do you want to talk about what really goes on? So that's one thing that not only WWE but any pro wrestling, it's like they never really go into that, and I think it's because they don't want the fans to kind of really know like what's going on behind the curtain. They did to a certain extent, they do to the where they have figureheads and everything like that, but the figureheads are usually like a Teddy Long and Vicky Guerrero, the Nick Aldises and the Adam Pierces, who are just talent, but they're supposed to represent decision making and things like that. And the people that really make the decisions, rarely are, authority figures on screen. So
Very true. Like you never saw Ted Turner appear on Nitro.
right. So that would be weird. So
I mean, granted, it was acknowledged that he was the owner, but he himself never showed up.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where they take it. I already don't kind of like it, but they got time to try to sell me on it.
Yeah, there's definitely some holes that need to get filled and some connections that need to get made for things kind of make a little bit more sense. But I think that there's something to build on there, at least.
Yeah. Todd Brantley's favorite authority figure was Jack Tunney. So yeah. Well, speaking of figures, that's a good segue. I didn't think about this, but we're freestyling it because we always pretty much call it in the ring here. I don't know if you guys know our our pre our pre-show meetings are usually about 5 minutes of just like, hey, what's up? What's going on? Nothing new? Okay, what do you want to talk about? We do the Cody Rhodes say, what do you want to talk about? So yeah, calling it in the ring, calling a little audible. I saw on Instagram that Powertown Wrestling Figures, we talked about them. They got the TNA deal, and they had previously been doing stuff for like some legends that didn't necessarily have an affiliation with an existing company. So like you look at their figures, it'd be like like Bruiser Brody, or I think they had a Vern Gagne, perhaps. Those people like that. So we got the TNA figures, and they showed they announced the names that are going to be in the first wave of figures, and of course the TNA champion Moose was leading the charge. So we're gonna supposedly get a Moose Powertown Wrestling figure. So look for that coming up. The other ones was like, I think Fat Eddie's getting one. Josh Alexander's getting one. Jordan Grace is getting one. And maybe one other, I forget. But definitely those ones are going to be in the first series. So looking at their website, they don't have anything up for pre-order or anything available yet. And every figure that they have on there is like sold out, it says, including the 2-pack of Cardona and Myers, which is, pretty funny. But there you go. So get your oh yeah, and as Labrad's pointing out, the what was it? What is that name of that company? It's like Zombie Sailors Toys or something like that. They've got their own like line of toys, and they put out a commercial showing CM Punk coming to their line of toys, and Larry the dog is an accessory with CM Punk. Yeah. Which is pretty funny.
AEW missed a boat with that so bad.
Yep. They had a CM Punk. Actually, I think they had a couple, but no Larry. So, but in this one, it made it seem like, the story they told in the ad was it was that his signing had been, contingent upon Larry being included as an accessory. And they show Larry running into the boardroom meeting where they're pitching ideas for accessories for him. So if you haven't seen that, I'm not going to sit here and say it's funny, but you can watch it and make up your own mind. It's definitely an interesting ad. So
at the very least, it's creative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those other wrestling figure companies, Powertown Toys, Zombie Sailors, they're trying to do stuff. So, support them if you like. This is your way to get an official Larry action figure. So Why not? Why not? Is there a Kenny Omega figure? And if so, does it come with any bite marks? Well, I think you know the answer to that, Mr. Brantley. Uh, but you can buy a Kenny Omega figure from the AEW series, and you can bite it yourself. So there you go. All right. Well, that is the action figure news front. And of course, on the TNA wrestling front, the foremost thing on everybody's mind, I'm sure, is the firing of President Scott D'Amore.
You're fired, pal.
Yeah. Quite suddenly and unceremoniously, we find out that, you're fired. You know, we don't need you anymore. So this is weird for a couple of reasons just on the surface. I'll take you to like my thought process of just upon hearing the news, right? Which is like, well, fired for what? That's the first thing I think of, because it's like, it's one thing. Okay, so he was, let me pull up this article here. So Anthony Ciccione of Anthem Sports Entertainment was put in his place as the new president of TNA, right? So if you just wanted this guy to be president, there could be news such as Scott D'Amore steps down, or Scott D'Amore is reassigned, or whatever the case may be, that would make room for this, whether it's a promotion or a lateral move or just an additional responsibilities to this Anthony guy. But we're not getting that. It's Scott D'Amore's fired with no reasoning given. And so like, I'm just like, well, something must have happened. That's what I think in my mind. What goes through your mind, Brandon, when you hear this news?
I mean, for a very, very, very fleeting moment, because with everything going on in wrestling, people not wanting to take any chances. If there's even a whiff of anything, got to cut it. So, if like for a fleeting moment, I think, okay, is there something going on that's salacious that might be it? But then I think I might have said this to maybe one person in a text and a thought, but then I started stopping and thought about it. Like, nah. Like, everything I've ever heard about this guy, nothing like that. Maybe, some shady business practices at the worst. Maybe some political games, but, nothing at that level.
Mm.
Even when Speaking Out came out, nothing ever about him.
Mm.
And then once more information started coming out, it was more like, okay, it sounds more like, business went bad. They came to a disagreement. It's clear that this disagreement would not be able to allow them to continue doing business together, so they cut ties with them. And then the outpouring of the talent came out. Okay, clear this is a guy who was liked. Nothing salacious, nothing wrong with it at all.
So that's how that's how you see it, right? Well, yeah, the food budget got in trouble. Fat Eddie. That you can't. Got to keep him fed. So, well, I would have some questions. So, when Scott D'Amore got to a certain level, was that not at the same time as Don Callis? Was it not Scott D'Amore and Don Callis that were both like?
They were promoted together, yes.
Mm-hmm. And what happened to Don Callis?
He was, I do not know the entire story. All I know is that it's something with him and Scarlett.
Right. So there is a history of something there. Now, that doesn't necessarily put anything on Scott D'Amore, but
there is a precedent.
Right. So that's certainly a reason why people could assume that.
And plus, with everything going on, what is your what's what a lot of people's minds going to go to like immediately, but then you stop and think about it for a moment. Okay, let's let the facts come out before we start jumping to any conclusions.
Right. Which is a funny phrase, let the facts come out. Because we have never gotten facts ever. As wrestling fans, we are used to never getting facts. Like the closest thing that we get to facts is like a 67 page, complaint filed by, like, but when it comes to, whatever happens if things go to trial or whatever like that, we don't get the facts. We get what gets reported. So we don't have a lot to go on in those kind of things. I'm sure somebody knows something, but unfortunately I don't, so I can't comment on it. I don't know, but it does seem strange if if you look at it from the standpoint of, well, they couldn't come, like you said, they couldn't come to whatever business agreement that they wanted. Um, is that a reason to walk out? If you're bleeding red and yellow, like if you're out there cutting these promos, like if you're taking TV time and pay-per-view time to go out there and scream into the microphone about how much you love this company, and you can't reach a business agreement, so you got to go, that means that you were probably forcibly removed, or you were just lying the whole time and you really don't care about TNA further than just the surface level, right? So whichever one it is, I mean, I'd be willing to bet that uh it's probably the fact that um he he had no choice in the matter, because you could definitely step down and take a different position. You know, uh, the president of TNA doesn't have to run the creative, right? So if he wanted to just run the creative,
From what from what I understand, I think it was in one of the locker room shows he was offered the to step down as head of creative, and he refused to accept. I think something like that.
yeah, seems weird, right? I mean, you would think you would do whatever you wanted to because you love this company so much. At least that's what I would think.
Right. So at this point, honestly, who knows what's true, what's not true? At this point, as Disco famously says, it's all speculation. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, um, so now we don't know what's going to happen as far as the creative process, because this guy doesn't have any experience in wrestling or anything. He's just over sports and entertainment at Anthem. So this just goes onto his desk now. So what does that mean? How involved would he be on a creative level or on the day-to-day operations? We don't know. Is he just going to read memos in the office? I don't know. Um, but at least the episode that we're going to be talking about, I was definitely under the Scott D'Amore regime still. So it's the same set of tapings that it's been.
As far as creative goes, I could see the reins for that being handed over to Tommy Dreamer.
God damn it. I wouldn't trust Tommy Dreamer with his own creative or the catering budget. Um, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Now, see, this is where, so Todd Brantley says, which is why Anthem said he stepped down. They fired him from running the business side of TNA, offered him to do creative, and he said, no, thank you. Well, where is this information coming from? Because it certainly wouldn't be, I don't remember Anthem saying anything about what Scott D'Amore did or didn't do, unless that was part of the Zoom call, which I wasn't privy to for sure. Um, so I don't know, but But Lab Rat needs more moose, which I think we can definitely agree with. Now, if getting rid of this guy means that we get more moose, then I'm all for it. Because quite frankly, this set of tapings has been shameful. Shameful. Is your motherfucking champion. And so far we've seen him eat at a fucking TGI Fridays or whatever and talk to Alex Shelley in a hallway. And being a 6-man. Way to go.
It ain't how you use your champion.
No. So, you know what? On second thought, I would fire Scott D'Amore. I just changed my mind. Scott D'Amore deserves to be fired. This is the best you can do. And I don't want him running creative. All right.
I know a few consultants who can help out. I think we all do.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yep. So, all right. Well, so, yeah. So I guess with that, if you have any other further comments on the Scott D'Amore situation, then go ahead.
No, I think we are good on Scott D'Amore. Hopefully he, whatever he does next, he's happy doing it, and yeah, we know.
I did see where some people were saying, like, I saw on social media a couple of things about like AEW needs to hire him immediately, which is I'm like, listen, guys, hey guys, I'm not hiring anybody, guys. I'm doing all this myself. Thanks. I don't need any help. Like, what are you gonna? What is Scott D'Amore gonna do in AEW? Just sit there and not do anything? Like, but we already have like a creative team of one in AEW. That's why he's not going there. They don't need to pay a guy just to sit around and do nothing and have his ideas ignored. So I don't know why they would do that, and I don't know why he would go there to do that. Yeah, walk around with his headset. Maybe he could be the avatar for Tony. He could just go out there and say he can cut all the 9 days for tonight promos himself. So yeah. But that answers that. Like, for anybody that's actually believes that or feels like that, you could just add his name to the long list of guys who are available and have not been hired to help TNA with their creative. I mean, to help AEW with their creative. Just add him to that long list of available guys. All right. Anything else that we should talk about before we dig into this classic Scott D'Amore led episode?
Nah, I think we ready to go, homies. Get it.
All right. Well, let's see. Where's my notes here? I'll get my phone out. I'll unlock it and pull up the notepad and open the document. And all right. So here we go. It's the February 8th episode of TNA Wrestling Impact on Access TV. Of course, we got to start with a little recap to catch everybody up. So in the recap, we'll just say that, not enough moose, even if he was in the recap, doesn't matter. It's still not enough. That's basically your recap from us. There wasn't enough moose the previous 3 weeks of these tapings. We need more. So let's see if we get any. Instead, we're going to start with something way more important, which is Goldberg 98 versus John Schuyler of the Good Hands. This match is brought to you by Mustafa Ali. So, paid promotion from Mustafa Ali. They have the little border around the match showing that he's endorsing this. He approves of this match. Nice touch, I think. I don't mind that. I also would like to comment on the fact that his name is Mustafa Ali, which you guys would probably know from his previous run in the WWE. So this could be like a sign of things to come in terms of like the iron grip is loosened somewhat. If you make a name with a name in WWE, they're not going to necessarily fight you on it. They might actually want you and encourage you to go out there with it, because they're not going to make another dime off of Mustafa Ali. They certainly don't have any intention of bringing him back. And even if they did, you would still want him to generate whatever buzz and whatever ripples in the pond and everything else he wants as the name that you gave him. So this is a good thing, I think, and it's something that I like to see more of.
I agree with you that, and I think we'll see more evidence of that later on in the show.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, so look forward to that. And these guys have a match. It doesn't go for too long, but I did notice during it that they did a spot where Saban charged Schuyler, and Schuyler did like an overhead belly to belly throw on him, and that would be generous, because really it just looked like Schuyler fell down and and Chris Sabin took his own flip bump over him. So I wouldn't really say Schuyler did anything here, but Sabin, on the other hand, almost landed on his neck directly. So he barely escaped a severe cervical injury. Maybe, as you get up there in age, Chris, you might want to just think about taking it easy in a fucking match against John Schuyler, for Christ's sake. But
I guess they ain't so good hands.
No, I guess not. The hands were almost nowhere near him. He just fell down and threw his arms in the air, and Chris jumped over. So yeah, that was awesome. But it was a of course, Chris Sabin picks up I guess it was shocking to all of us, a shocking win, a cradle shocking win, perhaps, on John Schuyler. Overcomes a near broken neck to cradle shock John Schuyler and get the win. So there you go. Any thoughts on this?
'Twas a match. And of course, Goldberg 98 went over.
Of course. It's not time for the cattle prod yet. That would have been Jason Hotch on the outside with the cattle prod. But yeah, nothing really. And nothing happened after the match, right? They didn't get in there and beat him up like everybody else did on this episode?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, then we go to Alex Shelley, the other half. With Gia, no music underneath. She asks him if, with the numbers advantage in the system, is he at risk in his match tonight? As we say hello to Piers Austin. G'day to Piers Austin, the great Piers Austin. Former Impact ring announcer, former Impact Attack guest, and current awesome guy. So check out everything Piers Austin is doing. Um, so yeah, so they ask if he's at risk, and he says, Shelley says, take out one component and the whole system crashes. That's basically what he says. Mm. Yeah. So there you go. I guess that's true. Now I give Alex Shelley a lot of shit, right? And I'm not gonna sit here and try to tell you guys, go out of your way and check out this Alex Shelley promo. But he did a short little promo that made sense. So I have to give it up to him. I'll give him a thumbs up on his short promo. He actually answered the question that she asked, and he delivered his promo, and it was fine, and thumbs up. So that's what it is.
I would have to be with you on that one, man. That was, again, one of his better promos.
Yep.
It was, it wasn't about him putting himself over, about how he's influenced wrestling since he's been around. And no, he actually like stuck to the content of what's going on and the story being told, and applied it to the gimmick of the machine or the system. And yeah, decent promo.
Yep. I agree. So then you get the rematch. This was the highly anticipated rematch between Tasha Steelz, or should I say Tasha Gold? There's Cleopatra coming at you, Tasha Steelz. Interesting ring gear. And then she's taking on Xia Brookside. So it's Tasha versus Xia 2. Much anticipated rematch. We may get a trilogy out of this. Yeah. So what'd you think of this match here? This is the rematch now. And you remember, Xia went over in the first match, and I believe I said, and you agreed, that what the hell, man? That's not how you get somebody over. You don't just bring out Tasha Steelz to give her a quality win. If she's the rookie, if she's the youngster and all this stuff, you got to beat her down and get the crowd behind her a little bit. Like, oh, maybe next time. Not like they did with Taylor Swift and the Chiefs this year. That's a different thing, because Taylor's already over. So she's more over than the Chiefs. So you got to get the rub from Taylor. But you know what I mean? Like, they didn't go that route last time. So this time we got the rematch. And so what'd you think of the match?
I mean, match itself was decent. It's just, we're getting the same story we've seen 1,000 times in wrestling. You get a win, I get a win, go to the rubber match, and then we just kind of drift off from there. Like you said with the rookie thing, this story means so much more if she got Tasha beat her the first time, and then Tasha beats her again, and then Xia challenges her to one more match, and Tasha gives it to her. And Xia gives her a hell of a fight. She gives it to her, gives it to her, gives it to her. Tasha has to cheat to beat her this time. Xia wants one more match. Tasha says no. At some point, Tasha ends up with the belt. Xia becomes number one contender.
Mm-hmm.
In that match, Xia goes over.
That's a good roadmap, for a way that you could take a classic story like this. If you want to go classic, you got a classic layout, story as old as time, but you had to give some adversity first. Instead, with this 50-50 booking here, Steelz, like, she pulls the tights, stacks her up, pulls the tights, and is like, heh. So doesn't have quite the impact if this is like she had to cheat just to get a win on this rookie. That doesn't really, it's another thing if, like you said, she's already beaten her once and she gets a little overconfident, which allows Xia to put up more of a fight, and then she's like, all right, well, let's just end this. Tights pull, maybe next time, kid, or something like that. They didn't do that. So they did that. They did this. They did a one. Now we're evened up. The heels got some, and it makes me wonder. It's like, do you even think Tasha Steelz is a heel at this point, as a company, right? As like as TNA, like what are they? You know, she's been a heel. She was gone. She came back, so we're excited to see her. They pushed her like a baby face, and but she's still a heel. So it's like they're not decided. They're not defining the character as much. Clearly, you have like you have a conundrum because you want it, like in a case where you're looking at who do we have that we've spent time and invested in trying to get over, and Tasha Steelz is that. Um, but do you want, like, she seems like she have the attitude of a heel. What does she want? I don't even know what she thinks she is. It's weird. But here with the cheating, it's like, okay, maybe that's a little more clearly defined. I had sympathy for her for losing to Zaya last time. So I don't know if that was the intended effect. Um, Todd says, "Is it just me, or is Tasha Steelz playing the role of gatekeeper in TNA nowadays?" Maybe if she was there enough, she's barely been there. So what is that's like, you know, you're like slacking off on your duties, keeping that gate. Like you keep wandering away from the gate. You need to be there. One detail I noticed about this that are points against Miss Brookside here. At one point, Tasha gave her like the Orton DDT, like draped over the second rope and DDT'd her. And the way that Zaya chose to sell this DDT was to like shake her head like she's Goldberg, trying to shake it off, and like grabbing her mouth, like you didn't get DDT'd on the teeth, you know. It's not a DDT is not a teeth busting move. Um, at least it shouldn't be. Uh, but that's certainly not how you sell it. You're not Goldberg. You're not even Chris Sabin. Just sell it like you're dazed and trying to get up. That's how you sell it. You don't, oh, shaking it off. You're not Taylor Swift either. Don't shake it off. Come on. So anyway, any final thoughts on this situation?
Other than that, this could be something done, built up better, and better creative. I don't know. This just seems like really lazy booking. All right, you know them. Yeah, we already talked about it.
You're out of here, Scott. Hit the bricks. ABC promo in the hallway. They're doing their promo and then they get jumped by the Grizzly Young Veterans. Just dastardly. And they take Ace's hand and they slam it in an anvil case. And then GYV gets run off and security is there, as they sometimes are and other times not. We'll see. But yeah. So there you go. Another instance of a dangerous working environment. You know, it's not even safe to do a promo in the hallway anymore. This is probably Scott D'Amore's fault. And that's why he's gone. Any other thoughts on that?
No, I just wonder how they're going to try to get this injury angle over when we've seen like, you know, matches where you'll see a body part get worked for minutes at a time, where the dude should be straight up limping or not be able to use that limb, and then they're all of a sudden able to use it. So like, to me, this just felt like nothing was accomplished.
I guess we'll see. Well, they're already down one in the best of 3 series. And now, apparently, Ace Austin is down one limb. So, this would be kind of like the Chiefs trailing at halftime, you know? So, we recap the Frankie Kazarian promo. And then We see Frankie taking a walk down the hallway for no reason. Like, we're filming him walking down the hallway just so Jake something can stop him and say, like, he used to look up to him and this isn't, you know, he doesn't appreciate this or whatever. And Frankie says something like, what does he say? He says, like, if you don't still look up to me, then don't look at me at all or whatever. And then he tries to walk off being cool again. And I guess the camera was supposed to follow him at that point too. But then something stops him and says, you know, I tried to talk it out with you, but there are other ways to do this. And then he walks off. And then Frankie just stands there. And the camera films him for a few more seconds standing there, staring into space. So, there you go. So how about this? How about this thing? We got Jake something. His heart is broken. His hero has broken his heart. And now he's going to beat the shit out of him, apparently. Not now, though. Like later in a match, but that's what we're doing. So, what we you know, how is this? Is this intriguing? Are we excited to see Jake something? If Jake something and Frankie Kazarian have a match, is this like Kazarian taking from the wrestling business what he wants? Unmute first.
I don't get it. I don't understand how him and Jake something like furthers Frankie Kazarian. That because you're not putting Jake something over Kazarian with what they're doing with him. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope somebody got fired over this. The next match is Speedball Bailey versus Weedball Wentz. You know, they these guys do some stuff. You can imagine what it looks like. And then Trey Miguel interferes. Like, how does this happen? I didn't write it down. Let me try to remember. So he's getting ready to hit the ultimate weapon, and then Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz grabs the referee by the leg and hugs him on the leg and says, please don't let him ultimate weapon me. This shit hurts for a shoot. And then the referee's like, get off me. And then while he's trying to shove Zachary Wentz off his leg, then Trey Miguel climbs up and distracts Mike Bailey. And what ends up happening? Does he get crotched, or I forget what happens, but something happened.
I just remember it ends with him hitting that with Wentz hitting the springboard stunner off the top rope.
Yeah, the UFO cutter, as it's called. So Zachary Wentz gets a win. Gets a quality win over Mike Bailey, who doesn't lose often unless it's like a major match, like a, Will Ospreay or something. So yeah. And then afterwards, they both decide to just continue beating up Mike Bailey. But if you had on your bingo card somebody making a save with their full entrance, then check that box, because Trent Seven is here. I guess he wasn't out there earlier when everybody was fucking around and his partner was all alone, but he just got off the plane, just got out of the rental car, just got in the building, put his towel around his neck and marched out there with his music just in time to save his friend from the beatdown. Because this shit is real.
Those travel problems, man.
Man.
I will say, though, from personal experience, I witnessed this with my own two eyes. I was at one indie show I was refereeing at, and there's one dude who wrestled early in the card and had to do a run-in during the main event, but he was also wrestling on another show, down the highway. So he wrestles his match, gets in his car, leaves, goes to wrestle that match on the other show, and no joke, his card pulls up and he gets out and runs out right when he was supposed to run out in the main event.
Well, that is awesome. Did they hit his music?
I don't think so. No.
Well, then I like their version better. Because this shit was dumb. Like, why couldn't it have been as simple as the Rascals come out, and then Bailey comes out, and then you hit Trent Seven's music, so he's there, and now you got like a little, you could do something that way. Well, I'll tell you why you don't do something like that. Because it's not that simple. Because here comes Macklin. Burt Macklin, FBI, runs out to the ring, and he saves the save from Trent Seven, right? He's now on there, and now it's a 3-on-2 with Macklin and his new buddies, and they're getting the numbers advantage here, and everything. And then you hit Dolph Ziggler's music. Yeah, hit his music now. And his like Dolph comes in and he saves the save. And he throws highways to the danger zone at everybody, and he raises Bailey's and Seven's arms in the air like they just won a match. And this is about as phony, boring, lame wrestling as it gets. This is the phoniest wrestling, phony bullshit. You're basically just saying we are Bush League, and this is just, it's, I can't even tell you how lame this is. All of it. But what do you think?
I always hear the excuse of you hit the music to get the pop from the crowd. You get the pop from the crowd when the crowd sees them run down and they realize, oh shit, here he comes.
Yeah, and you've already seen this guy twice because this is a taping. You know? Like, to the crowd, it makes sense that he just runs out there with no music or in his street clothes or whatever. He's out there, Dolph with his shirt off, but wearing jeans and stuff like that. So it makes sense to them because they've already seen him wrestle twice. You know? To us, it took 3 weeks, but to them, it took 3 hours. So he runs out there and they're like, oh, him again. All right. Yeah. Whatever. But for us, it would also work because if we're watching on TV, then we're like, okay, yeah, why would Dolph Ziggler's music hit? He's in a hurry. He's just running out there to save his friends or attack his enemies or whatever. Don't need his music. Nobody knows what his music is. He just fucking got there. He's only had this music for this show. So it's not like the glass breaking exactly when you fucking play Dolph Ziggler's generic music that sounds just like, you know, any other random TNA guy's generic music. All right, I'm done. I'm getting off my soapbox now. I'm afraid of heights, and it's scary up here. I'm just kidding. I'm not afraid of heights. I don't have any phobias. I'll tell you what I am afraid of, though. Con promo. That's definitely scary to me. I don't really want to say that. But you know, it does have music underneath. It could have been Dolph Ziggler's music. I don't know because it's generic music. But he does say that he's the baddest man in TNA. Would you, if you had to pick the baddest man in TNA, do you think it's the guy that's never won a match before, or he's basically like been the Savannah Evans of his team?
That's a great comparison. If I really had to say who the baddest man in TNA was, Moose.
I wouldn't want to mess with Moose. He seems like a very nice man.
Until you mess with him.
But yeah. But his job was like, Moose's job for many years was shoving giant fat guys out of his way. So you don't really want to mess with a guy like that. Liz says, come on, you know it's PCO. Well, we're not there yet. Lab Rat says, why is he not arrested? He snapped someone's neck last week on TV. Well, if by last week you mean this week, because here we go. But that's a little bit later. Naomi and Grace are walking, and then after the break, it's them versus, oh, what do you know? Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans. So they got a tag team match playa, and yeah, I wonder what Savannah Evans is here to do.
Not take the pin.
Wrong. Not taking the pin is wrong. Yeah, tag team match. So basically, a couple things on this. Remember when we were talking about last week, we broke down the psychology of the cheating in a tag team match. Like when you draw the ref so that they have to put out the babyface who's trying to get in because the other guys are taunting them or cheating or whatever. And we talked about how the Grizzly Young Veterans tried to do the spot, but it didn't end up working out. We explained what they did, and we explained how they were supposed to do it and what they could have done. So here in this match, during the heat, Giselle went and bipped Naomi on the apron, and then Naomi comes in, and the referee goes to keep her out, and Giselle immediately grabs Jordynne Grace by the leg and starts dragging her back to the corner, right? So and stepping on her stomach and whatever. She's like trying to get Savannah Evans involved, but here's where they made the mistake. They made a legal tag, even though the referee wasn't looking, which as heels, you don't want to do that. You don't need to do that. The classic spot that everybody should know is the heel just comes in and beats the shit out of her, whatever. Yeah, you don't even have to do that yet. The referee comes over and is like, hey, you didn't tag, did you? You're like, yeah, we did. Yeah, we tagged. Yeah, we tagged. You don't even have to make the fake tag sound, you know? At that point, you're already there. So if you're standing right next to her, you don't need to make the fake tag. You could make the real tag. But as heels, it should be just something for the fans to see, like, hey, you didn't even tag. You just got in the ring. And now you're both kicking the shit out of her while Naomi's trying to argue with the referee, like, hey, they're beating the shit out of her over there. And they're like, I don't care. It's my job not to see it. And then, keep putting her out. So they almost got the thing right. But with that detail, they kind of missed it. So just for whoever's job it is to listen to this show and report, maybe bring that back. Just, you don't have to make a legal tag when the referee's not looking if you're the heel. In fact, you shouldn't. And then, well, that was fine, but that's like a nitpick. Then after it's time for Grace to make the hot tag, she hits this whole like whip reverse, tilt-a-whirl, counter, clothesline, double down, and then she tags first. So, yeah. No. The babyface is never going to tag first. Never, for any reason, would the babyface tag first on a hot tag. And then they tag Evans in. Giselle tags Evans in, who she rightly doesn't bump and feed for Naomi, but you want a bump and feed on a comeback. So Savannah should have been the one trying to keep Jordynne Grace from tagging, and then the comeback should have been on Giselle so that she can bump and feed for Naomi. So they didn't do that. And then it ended up looking weird because Savannah's trying not to go down, but then that makes the comeback less exciting. So, and then after all that, the babyface is still double teamed Savannah, ping pong her back and forth, hitting the shit out of her, and then they just tap her out. So, like, oh, but you look strong though when you didn't bump and feed on the comeback. Like, and it took two of us to beat you. Like, these are the compromises they're making in the locker room. So again, whoever's job it is to scrub through these shows and listen to all of our advice, like just play this whole segment here that we're talking about here. I don't know. What did you think? Did you notice that stuff going on during the match, or okay? What did you think of the thing overall? What were your thoughts on this? Turned into a debacle, but it was okay to start with.
I just thought it was like structured all wrong. I thought the wrong people were in the wrong roles. The finish was wrong. The wrong team went over. I mean, this is Trinity's like last match and last showing. I really should have been the Chantarage going up with Trinity taking the pin.
Yep. Could
Like I
even
thought
got
it
an angle out of it. Send her packing.
Yep. And I thought it was really weird that you're having your champion being the one take the heat instead of, you know, the one person's on their way out. You get your champion in, you got, you know, Jordan can clear house. And then of course it should have been you could have easily done something with Trinity doing a slip slam, hitting a hot tag. Evans tags in Giselle, bump feed, bump feed, bump feed. Just something.
Yeah. Something. Yeah, these ladies didn't care. They were in the Royal Rumble after this. So that's all
They're
they
over.
could think about.
They're over,
Yep.
brother.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. Well, this next part's not really over. It's Diener, and he's doing a promo by that stack of chairs that they always seem to film in front of. And he says like I have a decision. And like right when he's saying that, I'm like, retire? Is it retire? You decided to retire. Please tell me that you decided to retire. But he starts to go on, but he doesn't even really get to say what it is because here comes AJ Francis, and he wants to be the benefactor for Diener, basically. Apparently, AJ's got a lot of money to spend, so you know he's looking. He's got top dollars to spend, and he wants to. He just needs to find somebody that's willing to take it, and nobody wants to take money from this guy for whatever reason, including Diener. But Diener does say Joe Hendry, and then AJ Francis says, "Don't say his name," and well, you know what happens after that. Yeah, and then AJ did have this like, "Why did you clap?" Like that was a good line there. I'll give it to him. So yes, Hendry appears. He reads social media comments at AJ Francis about him. Well, he reads one, but it goes on for way longer than like say the Twitter character limit. So it must have been, you know, like an Instagram comment or something. But
Or it could have been somebody with the pay the $8 and can tweet longer.
could have been. Does that count for comments too? Look, I don't know. I'm not giving $1 or a
question.
dime or a penny to X, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, after that, AJ says like, you know what? I'm leaving. Actually, he said something else, but I'm just shortening it. Yeah. So this isn't over between Hendry and AJ Francis, but is Diener going to be involved somehow? Like, we didn't really get his decision, or he didn't like fully accept the proposal from Francis. So here's some intrigue.
Because it'd be the beginning of a Diener babyface turn.
Yep.
Fired.
Fired.
I mean, he did clap along.
That's right. Well, you can't help that. I don't even know how AJ managed to help it. So yeah. All right. So this next thing. Oh, this was just wow. All right. So it's Richard Adonis. I wonder if that's any relation to Chris Adonis. You think? Think they're and his partner Ori Gold versus the baddest man in TNA, Khan, in a handicap match. So he kills these guys, and I guess in the match, he kills him, and he's rehabilitated. Now we've forgotten how Khan is the worst, right? And so this sets everything right. And then he breaks one of their necks. So he killed a man. Um,
2 weeks
and
in a row,
then
he has done that.
yeah, it's this is well, killing people is more of an Impact thing, right? I don't know if does killing. I guess killing people makes the changeover. Like, yes, we're carrying over the killing people on television. Okay.
I think it's a tradition they've carried through the rebrandings.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. Consistency in something.
I think they're
Is
still
good.
called. Yes, I think they're still called TNA when James stormed to Mickey James on the train tracks.
Huh. Well, still alive. I mean, I would if I was a train conductor and I saw Mickey James on the tracks, I'd definitely make that train stop, like whatever it takes. Um, but uh, so yeah, so he kills this guy, and then he's gonna kill the second guy, and then the lights go out, and then all of PCO's Gurney and his team of male medical nuns appear. I don't know how else to describe this.
I saw one report refer to them as orderlies.
Orderlies, interesting. Well, I'm just going by what looks to be like the habits they're wearing. I just assume they were part of the. Well, maybe they work in the hospital and the chapel. Like, do you think? Like maybe they just double duty here, double duty like Anthony Cicione. Like, uh, all right. Well, anyway, Khan beats all of them up, like in the middle of them reviving. Also, are jumper cables like standard medical? Like, are those in the operating rooms and stuff too, or is that just
I think this is more of a special case on a case by case basis.
okay? Okay.
I mean, we're talking about a guy who's kind of stitched together from the pieces of other human beings. I mean, he is called a Frankenstein.
Oh, hmm.
You know, his medical treatments could be a lot more different than a regular human's.
Oh, so he actually was stitched because I just thought it was like one dead pirate that they found, like preserved in seawater, and then that they just were able to bring that guy back to life. But you're saying he's actually more than one. So is that like
I could.
Jacques Rougeau's arm that's like sewn onto his body or something?
That would be awesome if it was.
Because he's still alive too. So like, what's he doing? What's he doing donating body parts? This is ridiculous what we're saying, but it's no less ridiculous than what's happening here.
And he also got Bret Hart's leg after Owen kicked it out of his leg.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yes, that is the best use of leg kicked out leg. Um, Liz says this is awesome, and or no, Labrat says this is awesome, and I because it's in text form, you can't pick up the I assume sarcasm. Uh, so yeah, so Khan beats up all the medical nuns and then throws um, PCO in the ring, and there's like this an awful slugfest ensues. Like this is just okay. And then convenient security, right? Like sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. They're getting stretched a little thin tonight. Um, then the ring fills up with security. And then you know, at some point, like after a while, the security just falls down and starts giving up. They're like, we can't. We can't. We gotta take a knee. I'm getting tired holding these guys back for 30 seconds. And so that happens. And then Khan takes one of them, and there's two other guys and a lady on the outside of the ring, and he picks up one of these security guards and choke slams him out of the ring onto these two guys and a lady hard. Like this lady was like, oh shit, I'm a lady.
Why would you put her in that spot? Why
Bro,
would
I
you
don't
do
know.
that? You have plenty of other security guards in there. Why would that had to be a rib on her? That had to be a rib on her.
Man, I know women can do everything a man can do, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind opting out of this. So yeah. Liz says that's why Scott's gone. He blew the security budget. And Labrat says PCO's built out of NDAs. I see.
Yeah, pal.
Um, yeah. So then, if that wasn't enough, everybody gets up and then PCO dives on, them, and then they all give up. Like after that, even the people that weren't anywhere near the dive, they're just on the ground, like kneeling. Like I'm not getting up again. I would hate to. I would hate to get a guy choke slammed on me now, so I'll just kneel here. Forget security; they don't pay me enough. Um, and these are all indie workers, right? So they're already working for the catering. And then when they showed up at the building, Fat Eddie's in the main event, so there wasn't anything left for them to eat. So they went home empty-handed, um, and empty stomached, and then yeah, so they all give up at this point, and the two fight off. They just fought off. They just fought off. Uh, so there you go.
You literally just fought to the back and all right, on to the next thing.
Yep. Don't get a camera back there to follow this.
Nah, not
Don't
at
get
all.
security anymore. They've already given up. Their wills are broken. You know, it's kind of like, so the psychology. You hear a lot of guys talking about the psychology in Japanese wrestling where they do the forearm spot, right? So the psychology of the forearm spot. Now, granted, it's overused, of course, but used correctly and sparingly, the psychology would be like you've gotten two guys, the contest has come to an impasse, and now you're at a point where you're trying to break the other person's will by showing that you can't be hurt by them. So you allow them to hit you, and that's supposed to be devastating to them. Like, I can't hurt this guy. So that's the idea. You're supposed to break the man's will and break his will to fight by withstanding his best shot. Like, my best shot didn't work. The security guards definitely sold this idea very well. Um, they gave up. They did what every wrestler is supposed to do in that spot when you forearm a guy that's taunting you to hit him in the face, and you forearm him and he just stands there and takes it. You're supposed to just get down on your knees and be like, all right, okay, you win. Like these security guards did. So there you go. Speaking of giving up, Angels. Alan Angels is next. He's taking on Josh Alexander because they had a mild disagreement on the debut episode of what was that show called? The Sound Check.
Yep. Which goes with his moniker of frontman Alan Angels.
The front man. I don't get it.
Supposed to be like a rock star singer gimmick.
Oh, I get that part. Where's the rest of the people that he's in front of?
Exactly. Yeah, that's probably like, okay, frontman of what?
Mm-hmm. He's a one-man band. He can be that now that Heath is no longer.
I thought that could be that could have been a feud right there.
Coulda, shoulda. Somebody got fired before it could happen. What do you think of this match? I will admit to not watching it.
No, I thought it was pretty decent. Angels cut out a lot of the. I mean, he did a few dives, but other than that, he cut out a lot of the high flying stuff, and he just did a lot of heelish, dirty cheats, which I thought was a nice improvement. We don't see that enough from a lot of these, X-Division style heels. Just want to get their shit in, and he did not do that this time.
Good.
And another thing I thought was pretty cool was like at one point, or at least follow through with was Alexander went for the ankle lock. He screamed, "I'm going to break his ankle." And Angels got to the ropes, and then he was set up for the seat. Then later on in the match, set up for the C4 spike and then changed his mind, went for the ankle lock, tapped out.
Yes.
So nice follow up and telling that story.
Yes, the ankle of Angels was locked. Yes, he had him. He had him. He had him halfway hooked. He picked up his arm and he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna just, I'm gonna just break his ankle." All right. Well, what about the post match? There's a post match here.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty well done. You thought this was like a regular fan just shaking hands because of the mask and the hat. Hops the nails him, hops the ring, and then he takes everything off, and it's Simon Gotch.
It's Simon Gotch. Oh my God.
And I thought they had a nice little touch of Tom Hannafan questioning Matt Raywald, being former tag team partners, and he said denied any knowledge of it.
I don't know who Matt Raywald is. Why would he know? Now, if his commentary partner was Aiden English, then I might know. Uh, so yeah. Yeah, I like when fans hop the rail and then start using wrestling clubs and throwing guys into the stairs with Irish whips or whatever. That's how you know it's a fan. That's the dead giveaway. But but yeah, so understandably no security here to keep the fan on his side of the barricade because as you know they gave up. They just all gave up. So that at least explains why. Their will was broken and they could definitely not prevent one single fan from hopping the rail. So that's what we got. But so Simon Gotch is here. I haven't seen Simon Gotch in a long time. He's definitely I think I saw him in MLW last time I did see him. And was he called Simon Gotch in MLW? I didn't think he was allowed to use that. But in any case, he's back. He's got his mustache even. So TNA's next pay-per-view, just give up, Labarat says. But yeah, well, I guess we'll see where this goes. Is this does he have some sort of an agreement with Angels? I was really trying to remember. It's just so forgettable. I was trying to remember who it was, but yeah.
They did kind of allude to on commentary that somebody might have set Angels up to screw with Alexander.
Yeah. Or does Simon Gotch, did he just see one bald white guy with a beard in trouble and just assume that that was his old partner? Although that doesn't explain why, um, you know, he might have thought Josh Alexander was his partner. So did he think he was actually turning on his old partner? Because Josh Alexander's a white guy with a beard, a bald white guy with a beard. So like, with all these bald white guys with beards at ringside, was Simon Gotch just confused about like who was on his side and who wasn't? Or
That's a lot of bald white guys in one with beards in one's place.
it's the wrestling business, kid.
Plus, you got Eric Young in the back.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's dangerous to be a bald white guy with a beard in wrestling, but there's so many of them. So look out. Just every one of you bald white guys with beards, even Goldberg, at home, just look over your shoulder and make sure that Simon Gotch isn't about to jump a fence or whatever to get at you because he's trying to do something. So Liz says he was just bored and took out the closest one. Yeah. It's, the other guy's all the way in there. So I don't know. All right. Finally, we're at the main event. Fat Eddie, as we talked about, versus In Shape Shelly. So Eddie comes out and he's accompanied by the system, except
Moose.
Wow.
What the fuck?
Way to lead your team.
He's your
So we're not
champion.
getting any Moose unless we were saving him for a run-in. We can just scratch Moose off of our wish list for this episode because he's not going to be there. He's not going to be there. Yeah, he didn't, by the way. Spoiler alert. Sorry to jump to the ending. Moose did not come out at the end. So instead, all we got was this match. And Alex Shelley versus Eddie Edwards match. That's our main event. So
I 100% agree with Elizabeth's statement. Like, yeah, like you're gonna wear that with sneakers, not heels. What the fuck?
yes, her jumpsuit was awful sauce, as Liz says. But yeah, Alicia's always gonna wear them sneakers. That's kind of her. She does that. All right. So I kind of watched the Angels versus Alexander match. I wasn't totally honest. I did kind of watch that one. This one, really, I have no recall of this. I think I was still trying to finish watching the recorded Super Bowl and see what happened. I had avoided spoilers, so I didn't know who was going to win. So even though I was watching it many hours after the fact, I was biting my nails just as hard as everybody was, and Taylor was at the time. So, like, I was trying to multitask, and I don't think I gave this the attention that it. Well, I did give it the attention it deserved, but maybe just not from a purely analytical standpoint, because I feel like I saw this entire match play out in my mind's eye when they announced it. Now, if you watched it, did they do anything that you wouldn't have thought they would do in this? So I didn't miss anything.
No. My only big takeaway is that Alicia might be the only like best heel manager because she actually does what a heel manager is supposed to do: trip up the baby face, distract the ref so they can cheat, or cheat when the wrestler is distracting the ref.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
And
yeah.
I thought there's a decent spot in there where Eddie landed awkward, like the set sold it where he landed awkward on his knees and he kind of went down. And then Shelly took him out with the knee clip. And then he sold it for a little bit, which is kind of decent. Like he sold it, like struggling to get up, but then he's hopping up, trying to throw enziguris on the top rope and running around. Like, okay, that went out the window.
Yeah. Well, Seth Rollins has taught us that as long as you grab it, it's okay to do anything as long as you grab it afterwards. Hmm. Well, speaking of knees, did you have anything else, critiques on the match or analysis?
Nah, but it looks like they're elevating Kevin Knight, which is nice because that kind of plays into the way they were building him up a few months ago with like those matches that he had with Moose and Leo Rush. So at least they're
Okay.
building off of that, and that's not getting wasted.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll get to that in a second. So the finish comes with a roll up.
Out of a
He
super kick.
Yeah, he rolls him up. He tries to do the. Well, actually, he caught like it was the Boston knee party, right? He tried to go for the Boston knee party and got rolled the fuck up. So.
Yeah, he super kicked Shelly, went for the Boston knee party, got rolled up.
Mm-hmm. So there you go, a roll up, and then immediately Brian Myers in there punching him. So yeah, makes sense. Uh, and then so now we got that, and then the Jet Setters come out to make the save, and that's basically how we go off with most of. Well, it's a modified time machine. I guess maybe they just added Kevin Knight in. So Kevin Knight and Kushida are already they're an established tag team. They've actually won the IWGP Junior Tag Team Championships before, so as the Jet Setters. So no real surprise there. They're teaming up and they fold in Kevin to the normal trio and make it a quattro. So,
and plus you got Saban distracted with Ali right now, or Mustafa Ali.
mm-hmm. So yeah, so now we just got another potential 6-man tag here. I hope they let Moose be a part of it and not have to bring in Alicia Edwards to be the third person on their team. I mean, God, we wouldn't want to get any Moose on the show for any reason. He's only the champion. It doesn't. We don't need that guy. Let's just make Moose the the Roman Reigns and just have him never be there. That's probably the best way to do it. And then someone else can create a world championship out of nowhere and say that's the real world championship, and that nobody should want that championship that Moose has. And then The Rock can come in and be like, hey, I want Moose at Bound for Glory. And then, we could do a whole thing with that, but we probably won't get that now since, Scott D'Amore's been fired. So I'm not feeling good about this championship run.
No.
It's been a whole set of tapings and we got what we got. Like I said earlier.
It's already on trajectory to be worse than his first one.
Which was bad. Like, that was real bad. But this one hasn't been bad. It's just been non-existent so far. It's like I don't know if this is part of the idea of like fostering a tight-knit locker room. Everybody feels like they're close, like a family. They even go so far as to show them at Australian zoos and shit, all baby faces and heels being together and, showing how awesome everybody is and how much it's a team and everybody loves each other and this is the best locker room and all this stuff, which is nice. That's what you want. And you also want, you hear the same things about WWE these days, that locker room is pretty close and they're doing good. So this is good. It's like we're cleaning out the old toxic remnants of the past, wrestling business. And unfortunately, some good stuff came from that toxicity, but I would be willing to venture that all that good stuff is still possible, even with, if in fact, even more stuff is possible if you have a locker room that gets along and is looking out for each other. But that does not mean that everything has to be 50-50 and compromised and whatever. If your locker room is tight-knit, then just as an example, if Moose is the champion of this team right now, if he's at the head of the table, so to speak, then everybody else should be in strong support of building the show around Moose, not bringing him down to everybody's level so we're all equals. You can be equals in reality, but on the show, Moose has to be the guy. He has to be the focal point. Everything has to revolve around him. And when Moose hands that belt off to somebody else, that person should be the focal point now. Because if not, then why did we change the title? Why isn't Moose still the champion? That's the way things are supposed to work in pro wrestling.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's how I've always felt like the whole dichotomy of wrestling should be. Like, on screen, a very clear hierarchy, but backstage, everybody understanding their part and their role in making that machine work, and that everybody is equal part in that machine.
Yes. But because of the way human beings are and the way egos work and all these other things, and the fact that pro wrestlers are still insecure and everything like that, like, we're probably never going to fully get that. But I don't know. It's not the best for business, I would say. Although there's no guarantee that just because they all get behind and rally behind a champion and make him the must-see focus of the show, it doesn't mean anybody else is going to start watching the show either. You know, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around, doesn't make a sound, but you have a better chance of that. Because if you, okay, look, it's very simple, right? You look at Moose, you look at literally everybody else on TNA. I don't think you line everybody up and nobody picks Moose, right? Everybody's going to pick, if you never watch this show, you're going to be like, oh, well, that guy must be somebody, right? You know, look at that height, look at those muscles, look at that robe, you know, listen to that entrance music. Like you look at the athletic ability, look at the presence, look at everything. You look at him and you look at everybody else. It's like, well, that must be the guy, right? So if he's the guy, if you have him in more different spots on the show, that's more chances that somebody can watch and just see a clip of something and be like, oh, who's that guy? I like him. I want to watch him some more. Again, no guarantee that it's going to happen, but the chances are higher. It's like buying more lottery tickets. You know, you can't win the lottery if you don't play. You might win the lottery if you buy one. You know, if you keep buying scratchers, you should win something. That's the whole thing. So if you have Moose on more parts of the show, then even if somebody doesn't watch the whole program, maybe they just watch the first 10 minutes. Maybe they catch the last 10 minutes. Maybe they flip it on somewhere in the middle at the top of the hour. And if you see Moose in one of those places, boom, there's the attraction. And if you got somebody that can get more eyeballs than Moose, put that guy in the show too. Whatever the case may be. Hottest chick, hottest guy, whatever's going on in the company right then, if you put that in more places, your chance of getting new viewers increases. And that's not just true of watching on Access, that's true of anybody that streams this shit on YouTube, anybody that's watching clips, anybody that sees social media. I mean, you've got more chances to win if you're getting behind one guy consistently. So that way, if you do like that guy and then you tune into the show, so if you saw Moose somewhere in a clip and be like, oh, this guy looks cool, well, let me check out TNA, and then you watch this fucking episode and he wasn't on it, what's the chances you're going to watch it next week? You just lost yourself a viewer. So those are the things you have to think about when you're listening to the Impact Attack and taking advice. Okay? You have to put Moose on the show. This is the Moose. All right, I'm done. I'm getting back down off my soapbox. I'm going to need a ladder. It's very high up here. So.
No, you have to have your champion. You have to have your hood ornament, whether it's your male champion Moose, who I honestly think it should be. I think he has way more crossover appeal and mainstream appeal. Jordan Grace, I think she's great. She's in her role, but as far as right now, you compare the two, it's got to be Moose.
Yep.
And if somebody comes,
if you want to be fair, 50-50 with men and women, you just put Jordan Grace in that many spots, but just then you got two people that you're increasing your odds again of somebody sticking around. If Moose isn't your taste, perhaps Jordan Grace, like whatever it is, like, but you still want those figureheads. Go ahead.
I totally forgot where I was going. I apologize.
Well, you were just saying how Jordan Grace she's good in her role, but you still think that Moose should be the focal point.
Right. And if there's a female competitor or female wrestler who comes along who's more of a star than Moose, all right, put her over Moose. But I don't think there's one on the roster right now.
As somebody that's watched wrestling for like 40 years, maybe it's just me, but for me, it's painfully obvious when the time is right to do something, especially now. It's one thing to be a little kid and watching shows and cartoons and wrestling, you know, like it's one thing to see that. It's another thing to have sort of been educated in the business. And it's another thing to have been talking about the things that I've learned on a weekly basis with Lab Rats in dangers of getting a timeout with comments like that. Um, but but the to me it's obvious, and you don't like, even if you don't know when the time is right, you will when the time is right. So, for example, when Roman Reigns started going on this long title run, maybe they didn't plan for it to be a long title run when it started. But then when they saw they had something and it was picking up steam, they're like, well, let's keep going with this. And when they started doing that and the bloodline thing was going on, I was kind of like, you know, anytime a title contender would come up, I'd be like, I don't think the time is right. I don't think the time is right. And then people would say, well, who's the right guy? When's the right time? And I would say, I don't know, but I'll know when I see it. I will know when I see it. I'll know when it's the right time. The right time was Cody Rhodes last year. They missed that boat. But when at first I didn't know if it was Cody, but then they sold me on it and I said, yep, this is it. It will never get better than this. You have to take it home. You know, just like that point in the match when you have your highest point and then you don't go 5 more minutes. You got to go home, like when you have the people, right? So I thought that at that time. I knew it. I didn't know it until I knew it. Okay? Now, similarly, Walter Gunther is on this run where he's had a record-setting Intercontinental title reign. I don't know, you know, I don't know who's the right guy to do it, and I still don't know, which means it's not time to pull the trigger yet. So Jey Uso, sorry, you're not it, in my opinion. I'll know when I know, and I don't know right now. So you got to keep that going with him. Keep that going, keep that going. It doesn't matter if it's 4 or 5 years before you find out when the right time is. But that's the, you'll know when you know. As far as Moose goes, it's like, of course, selfishly, I'm going to be like, well, just let Moose be the guy forever and retire as the guy. I don't care, you know? But just the way that they've already booked him, I'm already like, well, if you switch the title now, it won't even matter. It's like, you clearly don't care about your champion. So whatever, do whatever you want. We'll see now what this means going forward since Scott D'Amore is no longer involved. And Moose was kind of like, I think Moose made a statement about it, saying like, it's not TNA without Scott D'Amore. So he's very demoralized about this whole situation because Scott means a lot to Moose. Which I don't know if this is some sort of a Stockholm syndrome or something, because it's fucking, if this guy cares about you so much, then we should be seeing much, much more than what we have been seeing. Maybe we're just lucky that we're seeing what we're seeing at all because of Scott D'Amore. So who knows what the future holds, but man, I feel like at this point, I feel like it can kind of almost only go up from here.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. Well, we're not going to go up from here. We can only go down. We've said everything we need to say. I thought this episode of TNA this week sucked. Not only just because there was no Moose, but because you had a lot of similar booking, way too many post-match beatings, run-ins, security running out. It's too much, and not much of it was good. Questionable booking within the match. I think the most praise I lavished on anything was Alex Shelley's short promo. That's how you know this show was bad, because that promo wasn't shit. It just was better than what Alex Shelley usually does. So shudder. So I didn't like it, and you seem to agree.
Huge step back from what we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks since the relaunch.
That's right. You've been high on the relaunch since it's been on, and I guess I didn't appreciate what I had until I saw this week's. But yeah, well, that's all right. There's always next week. Let's just get through this week. There's always next week. We'll see what they do. Should be interesting. Now we're looking at it with a different set of eyes because there's a different set of eyes that are in charge. So we'll see what they see, um, and we'll keep you guys updated. So, with that being said, Brandon, tell the people where they can find you.
You guys can always, as always, catch me
Oh,
on.
wait, Brandon, don't tell the people where they can find you. Did you have a Punching Up Impact?
I do.
Okay. Don't ever let me forget that again.
Yeah, this one is I admit this is not one of my better ones. I tried, but with what I had to work with, it was not much. And yeah,
Would you want to just run through some key points?
Yeah,
like
let's
the key
do that.
changes?
Yeah, like we basically one of the main storylines that kind of running through the show is kind of establish integrating the good hands into the system, but not quite. They're more like this their introduction, but they're kind of gonna from there out being like the system's Corey and Trevor, if you've watched Trailer Park Boys.
Mm-hmm. Which I haven't, but I'm sure other people have.
Essentially the patsies who take all the beatings and heat for them.
Okay.
All right, so let's just do a quick run through the whole thing. It won't take too long.
Okay.
So we do our recap, and of course we have our catch-up packet. Intro, Pyro, and Ballyhoo. Announce table, they run down the card for the night, discuss the events that happened last week. Then you go backstage with the system arriving in a limo. Gia walks up to them and asks, and Moose tells Gia to watch the show because they have more business to take care of than just Edwards versus Shelley. And then Edwards gives a warning to Shelley and Kushida and Knight. Match 1, Chris Sabin versus John Skyler. Skyler music and entrance. Hold on, sorry, I screwed up here. Sorry. Yeah, Skyler.
This whole match.
Skyler music and entrance, Sabin music and entrance, and we get a condensed version of the match on the show. Good Hands walk to the back, and they are met by the system who want to talk to them. Go to our first commercial break, and then we add in an Ash by Elegance promo that ends with her announcing her first Impact appearance next week instead of having just the announcers say it's going to happen.
Yeah, they just put up a graphic.
Right, yeah, like it's run another vignette and say next week. And then they go backstage with Gia and Alex Shelley. We get that same promo that we got on the show. Go to the vignette of Khan that we got on the show. Same one. And then Tasha Steelz versus Zaya Brookside. Same match we got on the show. And then we go backstage with the Systems locker room with the Good Hands. The cameraman is eavesdropping before Moose closes the door. And we go to our second commercial break. Pre-tape ABC. Same one we got on the show with the grizzled young vets attacking and injuring Ace's arm. But we do more than just the slamming the arm in the crate. That's just how we finish it. We do more with it, but because we again goes back to we've seen so much stuff done that we got to do more than just slamming a thing on it.
Yeah, you got to at least kill a guy, like.
Yeah, you got to put a bullet in it. I think.
At the very least, yeah.
Then we recap the Kazarian turning on Eric Young, his promo. Then go backstage with him and get the same promo that we got on the show with him running into Jake something. And then match 3, Mike Bailey versus Zachary Wentz. Wentz music and entrance, Bailey music and entrance, condensed version of what we saw on the show with post-match beatdowns from Macklin and Rascal, thwarted by Seven and Nemeth. And then replay of Rhino and Explosion. When we don't do that awful promo that he cut on the show, where basically just the whole point of it was him, every other word was getting censored.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad.
Was that on Explosion, or did they cut the clip from Explosion and play it on Impact? Because I didn't see it.
They cut the clip from Explosion, played it on Impact, then followed it up with a backstage Rhino promo. That was just, it was bad. It was bad.
Man, somebody over here on my illegal feed is fucking up.
And then it shows the, and then Crazy Steve had attacked Rhino on Explosion. And we go to the back with a vignette of Decay. So, because they're the women's tag, or the Knockouts tag team champions, you kind of want to have them on your show. They start cutting a promo on MK Ultra before Crazy Steve interrupts and makes an offer for them to rejoin him. And Decay tells them they want nothing to do with him. And then we go backstage to the System's locker room. Good Hands emerge from the locker room. Gia asks them about their meeting with the System. Good Hands tell Gia that her and everyone else will find out later. Go to our third commercial break. Come back to the pre-tape with Diener. It's the same one on the show with AJ Francis and Joe Hendry. And of course, we're going to shoot this in another place where there's not a stack of chairs behind everybody. Like, what is it with Impact finding the worst places to shoot these things?
I think that was so. Was that so Joe Hendry could hide behind the stack of chairs?
Okay, now that kind of makes sense. Now that actually makes a lot more sense.
I mean, he could always just be off screen, off frame, but I mean.
And then we go to match 4, number 4, Shantaraj versus Grace Trinity. Shantaraj music and entrance, Trinity music and entrance, Grace music and entrance, heels up with Shaw using a weapon on Trinity while ref is distracted. With Grace, Evans, and Jay, Shantaraj beat down Grace and Trinity. And then Gail Kim runs out with a weapon to run off the Shantaraj.
What kind of a weapon? Stack of chairs?
Yes, a stack of chairs. Then we go to a vignette of Eric Young that takes place in front of the VBD jail. Remember that place?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Young talks about his and Kazarian's history with TNA that includes video clips. Says he's learned how to control and harness his violent tendencies and warns Kazarian to watch his back.
There's probably some ominous music playing under all this too.
Well, I mean, if it's something that he produced and put together and then submitted to Impact saying, hey, play this, I could imagine so.
Mm-hmm. Royalty free, slow, Johnny Cash like singing.
Then we go to our fourth commercial break and then come back with a pre-tape of Rich Swann and AJ Francis. Swann is in his locker room when Francis enters. Francis asks Swann if he's thought any further on his offer and brings up Joe Hendry. Swann says he's not interested. Francis hands Swann a USB file that he says Swann might want to see. And I don't think we're going to be able to follow this up next week, but where I was wanting to go with it would be a parody music video that Francis had made making fun of Rich Swann, but making it look like Joe Hendry made it to bring Swann over to his side against Hendry.
They could do like an AI Joe Hendry thing.
Yes, there you go.
So we just thought of this in 5 seconds, and they had like a month to plan this out.
Then we go to our fifth match, Khan versus Richard Adonis and Ori Gold, which I have to believe he took the name from Ari Gold. I mean, come on, you're one vowel off?
Yep.
Adonis and Gold already in ring. Khan music and entrance, squash like on the show. PCO music and entrance, beat down is the same as it is on the show, except this time ends with PCO going high risk and he misses, and then Khan lays him out and does the whole smother thing again.
And the K pose.
Yeah, and we don't have people getting their neck snapped this time around.
Oh.
Yeah, I know you wanted to fill that bingo card.
Yeah.
And we go backstage with Gia and the Good Hands. She asks the Good Hands about their meeting with the System. Hotch says they'll find out soon enough. And then we do a recap of Alexander and Angels from last week. Match number 6, Alan Angels versus Josh Alexander. Angels music and entrance, Alexander music and entrance. Match goes the same way as it does on the show. 5th commercial break. Backstage with System and the Good Hands. Moose tells the Good Hands if they do well tonight, they'll be part of the System. The System and the Good Hands start to head to the ring. We go to our New Japan hype video, cut to the announce table, run down the card for next week's show. We go to the gorilla position, and Alex Shelley's pacing around wondering where Kushida and Knight are. Shelley's music and entrance starts playing. A producer escorts Shelley to the stage and says there's no more time to wait. Shelley enters to the ring, and then we cut to a shot of Kushida and Knight's locker room door blocked while they bang on it from the other side. Match 7, Alex Shelley versus Eddie Edwards. Eddie Edwards music and entrance with the System and Good Hands. System and Good Hands sit at a table at ringside with champagne and fine food. Basically, kind of the old throwback to the Horsemen on Nitro back in the day. Condensed version of the match on the show. Shelley hits his finish before the Good Hands run in for DQ. System, Sans, Moose, and Good Hands beat down Shelley before Sabin runs to the ring with Kushida and Knight. Baby faces get upper hand until Moose hands Skylar and Hotch Mace in handcuffs. Good Hands, Mace, Motor City Machine Guns, and Knight and Kushida. Motor City Machine Guns and Knight and Kushida get cuffed around the ring and they get just beat down and laid out. And the show goes off the air with the Moose welcoming the Good Hands into the System.
Oh,
but again, it's part of the whole. He's basically Ricky in them. He's like pretending they're in, but they're not. He's just using them.
You know what I noticed? They didn't have the, you know how instead of having the announcers run down the show, I thought of it when you said this. What they've been doing is they make like a short little video with a voiceover telling you.
I noticed that. Yep.
And they didn't have that this week because they don't know what they're doing next week because this set of tapings is over. So they couldn't do that. They couldn't pre-produce a vignette telling you what's going to be on next week because they don't know at this point.
I don't know.
We don't know. They're probably taping it like as we speak. They're probably just getting out of tapings. Anyway. All right. Well, we did get more Moose on this episode with champagne and fine foods, but
yep, the idea I'm trying to build with him is like unless he's actually in a wrestling match, he doesn't get his hands dirty. He's like kind of like the Godfather. He like unless he has like he doesn't get involved unless he has to.
The Kingpin. Yeah. You know, I like that, but then more Good Hands. Like, I don't know. I would kind of be reaching for my remote slowly, I think, constantly if that was the case, but we'll just go with it. It's a fantasy booking anyway, so I shouldn't take it personally. But even just hearing the recap, I'm like, I want to end the stream. I'm reaching for my computer. The people know where to find me. I don't need to sign off. It's anything but the Good Hands. So, but that's, you know. But in addition to being able to find this at Substack, and you can tell the people where they can find it on Substack and everywhere else they can find you.
Yes, on Substack, you can find this on HMG Brandon. I'm also on Twitter, or as the kids call it this day, the X, at Transarchist Tia. I am also on twitch.tv/Miss Tia the Transarchist, which I will be, once I get a computer up and running, I'll start getting those gaming streams back up, but who knows when that's going to happen with the way things are going in my personal life right now. But, you know, life is life, and you can always find me here every Monday night with the Impact Attack, having fun and kicking it with my buddy, with the vet. Whoop, whoop.
Yes. Always, every Monday, regardless, rain or shine, recap or no recap. We've got an Impact Attack for you. So, yeah, check me out at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms or platforms in general. Anywhere you can type in Opinion Haver, you might be able to find me. I won't make any guarantees, but when you do find me and you think it's me, you'll know it's me. So, accept no substitutes. Then, you know, as far as HMG goes, you can find me all over that too. You can find me on the Next Level Wrestling Review with Big Ray Hernandez every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find me every Sunday for The Wreckage with Jimmy T, and it's Chris Am's show, but he hasn't been on for a while, but he'll be back, I'm sure. But you can find me there holding it down every Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, where we talk about Collision, AEW Collision. It's as much of a mess as this show at times, but sometimes in different ways. So, but you can hear all about that and a 40-minute rant about how The Rock is lame on that. And then you can check me out on shortly. you can check me out on another episode of the PWC's Monday Night Machismo. I haven't watched Raw yet, but once I do, Jimmy T and I will be going live to record another episode of that. So if you can't join us live, just go to the PWC Network and their YouTube channel or wherever you like to follow the PWC Network. And not only can you listen to me talk about Raw from last week on last week's episode, but you'll have a fresh episode in just a matter of hours. So go ahead and do that if you like. That's all the HMG business I think I have. You can follow Wrestling with Rip Rogers on their YouTube channel. Just subscribe. It's free. They just celebrated a 2-year anniversary, and they just had the One Man Gang on there to talk about, some classic wrestling memories.
They had
fun.
Akeem. Fuck yeah.
Yep, Akeem, baby. So check that out. Let's see. That's a concrete time of whenever they go live every Friday. So you'll want to be there. It's usually around 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, which is a great time for wrestling podcasts to go live, apparently. So there you go with that. And check out Stevie Richards. Of course, he's got a million channels. He's got more channels than I do shows, and that's a lot of shows. Who knows? There may be even more channels coming in the future. He's got a Patreon. He's got the Big Fitness Show podcast. He's got his wrestling analysis channel. He's got his fitness channel. His wife has a Florida Adventures channel. There's just so many channels. I didn't even say them all. But yeah, he's got short videos, long videos, review videos, everything that you want. Stevie Richards has got it. So go check out Stevie Richards. And that's just about it. So for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't